Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Lord Premanandi. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Together, please. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tito Jayam Udirayat. Before reciting the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, which is a very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Preshvabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiti. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Right, this morning we're finishing chapter 32 of the third canto, right near the end, out of 33 chapters. So this section begins with text 37. Anyone remember the name of this chapter? I'm going to embarrass you. How long have you been studying this? What? Yes, Kapila is instructing Devahuti. Yes. This chapter is called Entanglement in Fruitive Activities. And it really deals at length with how people become absorbed in the material world and out of material motivations become attached to things. So he's really concluding his instructions here in this section. So why don't we start? We just have 8 or 9 verses to read. Bobby, would you like to start?
My dear mother, I've explained to you the process of devotional service and its identity to the 4 different social divisions. I've explained to you as well how internal time mistreats the living entities, although it's imperceptible to them.
Okay, now before we go on, what are this phrase is used, 4 social divisions? The Prabhupada explains it a little differently in the purport. Anyone know what these 4 divisions might be referring to? I'll give you a hint. It's not the Varnashram. No, it's not. I don't know why the word social is there. But
It's the 4 stages of spiritual life.
Closer. Getting warm. What's that? 4 ashrams? No, not Varnas, not ashram.
It's like the 4 stages of existence, like birth, producing something.
I think that there's 6 of them. This is something very specific to this section of the Bhagavatam. One specific teaching that Lord Kapila gave. A very interesting one. Actually, I spoke on it 2 weeks ago. I had that verse. And I see it really made a huge impression.
I don't think this will be it, but there's the Paramahamsa.
The 4 stages of sannyas. Good guess, but not quite. This is a 3 plus 1. Okay, it's 3 plus 1. What are there 3 of? Modes of nature. Okay, and this chapter is about devotional service. Devotional service in the 3 modes, right? Plus, what's the one? Pure devotional service. Right? That's what this is referring to. So he's saying, and this is what Prabhupada explains in the purport. Bhakti yoga, as described before, is divided into 4 divisions: 3 in the material modes of nature and 1 in transcendence, which is untinged by the modes of material nature. Devotional service mixed with the modes of material nature is a means for material existence. Very interesting phrase. It's a means for material existence, whereas devotional service without desires for fruitive result and without attempts for empirical philosophical research is pure transcendental devotional service. So devotional service in the modes of nature is something that most of us are familiar with because a lot of the time that's where we are. We're still doing devotional service, but we're still affected by the modes. But for example, if there's some service to do and you really don't feel like doing it, but you do it anyway, what is that mode? It's devotional service in the mode of ignorance. Okay? And then if there's some service to do and you want to do 10 different things at once, I got to do this. Oh, and I got to do this because they didn't show up. Prabhu, could you chant some rounds for me? I'm busy. What mode is that? It's devotional service, but it's the mode of passion. Right? And then, all right, it's time to get up. It's time to go to Mangalarti. I don't care how I feel, I'm going. What is that? That's devotional service in the mode of goodness. It's not like, I can't wait to get to Mangalarti, but it's my duty. I'm going to do it. That's mode of goodness. And then what is pure devotional service?
Only because you love Krishna.
What does Krishna want me to do right now? Krishna, whatever you want to do, that's what I want to do. I don't want anything else, whatever you desire. That's pure devotional service. Anya vilasita shunyam jnana karmadhyanapitam. I'm not doing this because I want to be smarter than everybody. I'm not doing this because I want to get something out of it. Right? Krishna, you want this? Like when Krishna had a headache. One day Krishna had a headache. And somebody said, "What, Krishna, you have a headache? What do you need?" The only thing that can cure my headache is the dust of my devotees' feet. And so he was Narada, wasn't it? Narada said, well, I can't dare give you the dust from my feet. So he began asking various devotees, Krishna needs the dust from your feet. Oh, I can't do that. I go to hell. I go to hell. Can't give Krishna the dust from my feet. And he asked the gopis, and they said, Krishna needs the dust from my feet. Here, take it, take it. And Narada said, aren't you afraid of going to hell? And they said, let us go to hell. Krishna has a headache. This is pure devotional service. Whatever Krishna wants, that's what I want. And see, practically, we may not be, and we don't have to be on that level. That's important to understand. We need to understand what we're going for. Just like if you're on the highway driving to Miami, you may only be in Orlando. You're not in Miami, but you're on the road. And you see the sign and you know your destination. So in Bhakti, we need to understand. We want to get to that point where only Krishna's pleasure matters to us. And that is a blissful state of existence because there's no more vested interest and false ego and all kinds of conditional things that we bring to the table. We just want to please Krishna because that's what Krishna wants. All right. Any questions about that? Okay, so these are the 4 divisions that Krishna's talking, that Kapila is talking about here. So let me continue. Next verse.
There are varieties of material existence for the living entities according to the work he performed in ignorance or forgetfulness of his real identity. My dear mother, if anyone enters into that forgetfulness, he is unable to understand where his movement will end.
The varieties of material existence for the living entity. This morning I was hearing a lecture. Srila Prabhupada said, there are so many frogs in the world. Are there any frogs in the ocean? And, no, there's no frogs in the ocean. And one of his science disciples said, well, probably that's because of the salt in the ocean. Whatever, there's no frogs in the ocean. And he was making the point that frog in the well has never seen the ocean. So when the frog tries to understand the ocean, he has no concept because he's never been in the ocean. So similarly, people in material consciousness have no idea about the joy of spiritual life. They just have no experience of it. So they say, does it make you this happy? Does it make you that happy? You know, and they can't understand. All right, next.
Lord Kapila continued, this instruction is not meant for the envious, for the agnostics, or for the persons who are unclean in their behavior, nor is it for hypocrites or for persons who are proud of material possessions.
It is not to be instructed to persons who are too greedy and too attached to family life, nor to persons who are non-devotees and who are envious of the devotees and of the personality of Godhead.
Now for you Bhagavad Gita scholars, do these 2 verses remind you of any verses in Bhagavad Gita? No, it's in chapter 18. This is in chapter 18. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think it's this knowledge is, I think Krishna says those who are not austere cannot understand this, those who are not, I think austere was the main one.
Yes, that's right. He at the very end of the Gita, he says, and don't try to teach this to those who are not austere or too envious to hear. But if you teach to the devotees, then your own devotion is guaranteed. So it's interesting things. Don't bother even trying to teach. Why would he say that? Why would you not want to teach this very important knowledge to people who are unclean in their behavior? Or hypocrites, or those who are proud of material possessions.
I think the word energy vampire comes into mind.
Yep.
Why you wouldn't want to teach someone who's just not receptive.
Okay, thank you. As a boomer, that's a new term for my vocabulary. Thank you very much. An energy vampire. Good. All right. Yes.
Sounds like if we have to follow that, that's the end of book distribution.
If we have to follow that, it's the end of book distribution. Book distribution is like panning for gold, isn't it? You go through so many rocks and pebbles before you find a nugget. So if we stop somebody and say, no, you got to stay and listen. This often happens with relatives and friends when we take up Krishna consciousness. Huh? That we want to tell them all about our experience because we're used to sharing everything with our loved ones. And I'm sure that, Kiara, you have no experience with this, right? Mom, I'm going to tell you all about Krishna consciousness. When are you going to get over this? This is, all of us have this tendency. There's one of the offenses to the holy name is involved here. Which offense is that? Anyone remember? Ninth offense, which is? To instruct a faithless person. And why is that an offense?
Because they will make offenses.
Yeah, right. It'll make it worse for them.
And then we become implicated.
Then we become implicated, exactly. And instead of helping them progress, we've helped them regress. So it's hard sometimes, it's hard when you are having such an amazing revelation of spiritual understanding in Krishna consciousness. And then you just want to share it with people who you're used to sharing everything with. And they don't get it. They don't understand it. So we have to learn this art of being able to take it away. Sometimes, as one of my mentors put it, sometimes we preach by not preaching. It is the behavior that actually attracts people to Krishna consciousness and not what we say. It's what we do. So if people see us changing and becoming, let's use cleaner, more less hypocritical, parents especially can be astonished to see especially their son is becoming clean. Are you feeling all right? And becoming less greedy or less attached or envious. In other words, they see improvement of character. That's how we attract people who are not interested. Just like the amazing spread of Christianity. When Christianity went from nothing to like the most dominant force in the known world at that time, in about 300 years. And that is because what the actual teachings of Christianity are to be kind to people, to help people, to give of yourself to people, like the Good Samaritan. The Jews and the Samaritans were like different traditions. And there was a Jew who was in great distress, lying on the side of the road, injured or starving or something. And all the other Jews and other people, everyone just walked by and ignored them. But the Good Samaritan stopped and helped this person. So Jesus used this as a parable for what his true followers are like. They actually are kind to other people. They give of themselves. If somebody comes, a stranger comes, they feed them, they clothe them, they help them. This was the actual teaching that Jesus gave, which is kind of hard to recognize anymore. But that quality of kindness, and even in the face of being martyred, made the Christians appreciated in society. It was so unusual. And so people were attracted, especially people who were marginalized in society, like impoverished people, sick people, women. They were treated as equals and kindly amongst the Christians. So people became attracted. So it's the behavior of the devotee that actually impresses Krishna consciousness on people. What is that? In the Chaitanya Charitamrita said that it is not logic and argument. It's not debate, but it is the behavior of the devotees that spreads Krishna consciousness. Any comments on that before we go on?
Well, the start of the while was this ninth offense, and I was thinking about this some of the time. I was like you said, we approach people who are, uninterested, they're faithless, and it's an offense. And one time the Gopi Sri came, And I tagged along with him for a little bit, and it was like a block away from Dr. Sankar. And he met some person who was really aggressive. And instead of just letting him go, he started arguing with him. And then 5 minutes later, they were yelling at each other from one block to another. And I was like, oh, okay, that's what it is. This is an offense. Because you are pushing this obviously aggressive person who is now offending Krishna consciousness. So, example of good one.
Very, very good. Yes. It's hard because we have the knowledge. You know, philosophically, we can slice and dice anyone. But if they don't want to be sliced and diced, I remember doing book distribution. People, you'd explain a little philosophy, and then people say, "Well, my philosophy," and they're more or less making it up on the spot. But anything to argue, you know. So this reminded me when I became a brahmachari back in the previous millennium. I went to visit one of my best friends from high school, and so I sat down with him and told him all about Krishna consciousness, and he just looked at me and he said, "You stand for everything I hate." So yeah, that was the last time we ever spoke. That was the last thing he said to me. He got on his motorcycle. So yes, it said when a non-devotee sees a devotee coming, they see death personified. Why? Because they're entangled in fruitive activities, and here comes somebody who's going in the opposite direction. I'm very convinced that this is the way to be happy, but they don't want to have a question. Okay, next question. Or next question, next verse. Pandu, would you like to read Prabhu? 41. Here's the positive after hearing who you should not instruct.
Instruction should be given to the faithful devotee who is respectful to the spiritual master, not envious, friendly to all kinds of living entities, so eager to render service with faith and sincerity.
The instruction should be imparted by the spiritual master to persons who have taken the supreme personality of Godhead to be more dear than anything, who are not envious of anyone, who are perfectly cleansed, and who have developed detachment for that which is outside the purview of Krishna consciousness.
Very good. And then the last verse is a blessing.
Anyone who once meditates upon me with faith and affection, who hears and chants about me, surely does not come back.
Jai. Okay, so we're going to do verse 42, Brandon, if you would, please. Okay. You know, a lot of devotees start with the synonyms these days. So why don't we just read through the synonyms real quick. Bahi, what is outside, Jata Vairagya, to him who has developed detachment. Shanta Chittaya, whose mind is peaceful. Viyatam, let this be instructed. Nirmatsaraya, non-envious. Suchaye, perfectly cleansed. Yasya, of whom. Aham, I. Priya, some of all that is very dear. And Priya, the most dear. Bahir Jata Viragaya. Shanta Chittaya Diyatam. Nirmatsaraya Suchaye. Yasyaham Priyasam Priya. Bahir Jata Viragaya. Shanta Chittaya Diyatam. Nirmatsaraya Suchaye. Yasyaham Priyasam Priyaha. Christian? Shantayaditayatam
Shayaya Suchaye
Nimasaraya Suchaye
Yasyaham Priyasam Priyam
Yasaham Viragaya Shantayaditayatam Nimasaraya Suchaye
Bahir Jata Viragaya
Bahirjata Paragaya
Shanta Chittaya Diyatam
Shanta Chittaya Diyatam
Nirmatsaraya Suchaye
Nirmatsaraya Suchaye
Yasyaham Priyasam Priyam
Pasyam. Very good. Okay, before we go on, so let's see how many of these words we can recognize. Let's just read the synonyms. Bahir. Do you remember? We sing Bahir every morning. Right, so what does Bahir mean? Outside. Hey, you're looking at. I'm just kidding. That's right. Bahir Nrsimha, Hridaye Nrsimha. Lord Nrsimha is outside, and Lord Nrsimha is in the heart. Bahir Nrsimha, Hridaye. Okay. How about Viragyaya? Detachment. Good. So one who's detached from everything outside of Krishna consciousness. That's the idea. Shanta. Peace. Yes. Peace. Peace. One year in Los Angeles, we were doing a book distribution marathon. Devotees were going out dressed as Santa Claus because that seemed to be an easier way to distribute. Yaduvar Prabhu and I were the skinniest Santa Clauses in history of Santa Clauses. And the devotees would read a purport from the Gita where it says, devotees of the Lord are Santa, peaceful. So anyway. All right, good. Suchaye, clean, good. And Priyaha, dear, good. Good. So, translation together, please. This instruction should be imparted by the spiritual master, persons who have taken the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be more dear than anything, who are not envious of anyone, and who are perfectly cleansed, and who have developed detachment to that which is outside the purview of Krishna consciousness. Shukla, would you start the purport, please?
In the beginning, no one can be elevated to the highest stage of devotional service. Here, bhakta means one who does not hesitate to accept the reformatory process for becoming a bhakta. In order to become a devotee of the Lord, one has to accept a spiritual master and inquire from him about how to progress in devotional service. To serve a devotee, to chant the holy name according to a certain counting method, to worship the deity, to hear Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam or Bhagavad Gita from a realized person, and to live in a sacred place where devotional service is not disturbed, are the first out of 64 devotional activities for making progress in devotional service. One who has accepted these 5 chief activities is called a devotee.
Okay, thank you. In the previous verse, the word bhakta is used. Instruction should be given to the faithful devotee. And so Prabhupada begins here in the purport by referring to this bhakta. Here, bhakta means one who does not hesitate to accept the reformatory processes for becoming a bhakta. Okay? So in other words, even if we're not pure devotees, if we're doing the things that pure devotees do, or that are presented to do by the pure devotee. So 5 of them are mentioned in this purport. Lord Chaitanya, this paragraph. Brandon, actually, why don't you scroll ahead to the next paragraph? Okay. That's right. No. One must be prepared. Okay. So we're going back. We just read 5 of the most important. There's 64 items of devotional service, and the 5 most important are listed. How many can you remember?
Living at a place where devotional service doesn't stop.
Okay, good.
Chanting according to a numbered method.
Yes, chanting is chanting. A specific
Hearing.
method. Hearing what?
Hearing, kirtan.
Okay, anyone remember what was specifically mentioned? Hearing Bhagavatam from realized sources. Yes, Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. Yes, okay. And what else?
Serving a devotee.
Serving a devotee. The same thing. There's one more.
Remembering.
What am I missing here? Oh, yes, one more. Yes, to worship the deity. Okay. These are the 5 things, especially householders are recommended for too. Regular chanting, to live in a sacred place, and if you're living in the ashram, automatically living in a sacred place. You become a householder, and then you have to make your house into an ashram. That's the challenge. That's why householders are called adhikari, one who's able to make their place into their house into an ashram. Okay, worshiping the deity, and hearing, and serving the pure devotee. This is the idea. Okay. Next paragraph. Manu, would you like to read for me?
One must be prepared to offer the necessary respect and honor to the spiritual master. He should not be unnecessarily envious of his god brothers. Rather, if a god brother is more enlightened and advanced in Krishna consciousness, one should accept him as almost equal to the spiritual master, and one should be happy to see such god brothers advance in Krishna consciousness. The devotee should always be very kind to the general public in instructing Krishna consciousness, because that is the only solution for getting out of the clutches of Maya. That is really humanitarian work, for it is the way to show mercy to other people who need it very badly. The word Shurushabhrirataya indicates a person who faithfully engages in serving the spiritual master. One should give personal service and all kinds of comforts to the spiritual master. The devotee who does so is also a bona fide candidate for taking this instruction. The word Bahir, Jatavaravya, means a person who has developed attachment from external and internal material propensities. Not only is he detached from activities which are not connected to consciousness, but he should be internally averse to the material way of life. Such a person must be non-envious and should think of the welfare of all living entities, not only of the human beings, but living entities other than human beings. The word Shuchaye means one who is cleansed both externally and internally. To become actually cleansed externally and internally, one should chant the holy name of the Lord, Hare Krishna, or Vishnu, constantly.
Okay, let's go ahead and finish. Okay, Tiara is next.
The word Liyatam means the knowledge of Krishna consciousness should be offered by the spiritual master. It means that the spiritual master must not accept a disciple who is not qualified. He should not be professional and should not accept disciples for monetary gains. The bona fide spiritual master must see the bona fide qualities of a person he is going to initiate. An unworthy person should not be initiated. The spiritual master should train his disciple in such a way so that in the future only the Supreme Personality of Godhead will be the dearmost goal of his life.
Please, Narada.
In these 2 verses, the qualities of a devotee are fully explained. One who has actually developed all the qualities listed in these verses is already elevated to the post of a devotee. If one has not developed all these qualities, he still has to fulfill these conditions in order to become.
This is entitled what? Entanglement and fruitive activities. Okay. So Srila Prabhupada gives this wonderful example that if somebody drops their wallet on the street, So one person will come along and say, oh, great, a wallet. I'm going to get cash, I'm going to get credit cards, maybe I can sell an ID. It's my lucky day. Someone else will come along and think, oh, it's not mine, I'm not going to touch it. And then someone else will come along and say, oh, someone has lost their wallet, let me find out whose it is and return it to them. So Srila Prabhupada says that person is both honest and wise. So this is the devotee's relationship with the material world. That we neither try to exploit it for our own sense gratification, nor do we pretend to renounce it. Have nothing to do with it, like the impersonalist. Rather, we take it and then we use it for its true owner, for Krishna. In the 5th chapter of the Gita, Krishna says that anyone who knows me in 3 ways becomes peaceful. Anyone remember what are those 3 ways? Yes, in chapter 5, the last verse.
Supreme owner.
Is the proprietor of everything, right? The proprietor of the wallet and
Enjoyer.
the enjoyer, the beneficiary, right? In other words, that wallet is not meant for me to enjoy, it's meant for the owner to enjoy. And finally, the best friend. So if we understand this, we look at this world and we see, okay, it belongs to Krishna. It's meant for Krishna's enjoyment, not my enjoyment. And just by helping return this to Krishna, I become friends with Krishna. You know, if you're friends with Krishna, what else do you need? You know what I mean? It's like, you know, if you're friends with a powerful politician, for example, then even if the law is not on your side, you can get the rules bent, right? Because that person has that power. So if we're friends with Krishna, just imagine what rules Krishna can bend. You know, you look at the history of anything, of like any civilization, right? So there's a background to it, and then there's first you'll know something generally about the background, then you know something about the laws in that society, and then then you get to know the actual people. But when you confirm, and then, but if you know the king, then everything in the society, everything in the kingdom becomes accessible to you. So in the same way, we may preliminarily know something about God, and then we may come to know the laws of God. Okay, the laws of God, including gravity, are made. They're made by the government, by the ruler, right? And then we may get to know the citizens who are actually living within the kingdom. But then if we know the king, everything is included. So this is the point. The point about this is how close are we getting to the supreme? You know, first is to know his existence or his history. Okay, that's a prerequisite for God consciousness, to accept that at least there may be a God. And then we get a little closer, we understand the laws. And then we understand the people who are God conscious. But then finally, when we know God himself, that's the point. So to know Krishna, to be Krishna's friend, wow. Like, you know the lawmaker. Can anyone think of an example of Krishna breaking his own laws? Okay, go ahead.
He picked up, he said he wouldn't pick up any weapons. But then when Arjuna was being threatened by Bhishma and almost killed, he picked up the wheel and charged at Bhishma.
That's right. It's one of Krishna's beautiful names, Ratangapani, one who had carries a chariot wheel, the Rata, Ratangapani. Good. Okay, that's one example. There's countless examples of Krishna breaking his own laws. Artie, you have another? Are you thinking?
Oh no, that's better.
You're thinking the same one, okay?
I was thinking of when Jayadratha has, what was the vow? Arjuna had taken the vow that if he doesn't kill Jayadratha by the end of the day, he'll still,
Inner fire.
fire.
Yeah.
And so Krishna hid the sun. And everybody thought the day was done and Jadava was celebrating. And all of a sudden, the sun appeared. That's caught off guard.
Yeah. Oh, what a cheater! And what's another? What's another very vivid example of Krishna breaking his own laws?
But he steals.
Yes.
He goes on to his other wives.
Yes.
He uses bad words.
Where does it stop?
He kills.
Yeah. Yes, Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj were very concerned about the character of their son. By the time he was 3, he was already a murderer and a thief. All right. Yes, and the Sukadeva Goswami, Maharaj Pariksit asks about this, the moral laws. In society, monogamy is a very valued ethic, but Krishna is inviting all the gopis to come out through his flute. He acts so surprised when they come. Oh, what are you doing here? And then he says, you should be at home with your husbands and your children. And he's and they just like look at their feet, they're toeing the ground, they're not going anywhere. They say, Krishna, you call us out here and then you tell us to go home. What is wrong with you? So seeing they were very determined, Krishna says, all right. And then they go on into the night. So Maharaj Pariksit asks, how can he break these laws? And Shukadeva Goswami gives this example, like the king may be creating the laws, but he's not subject to the laws, like everyone else. So imagine having such a friend like that is above the laws, who can break any law, who can solve any issue, who can resolve any shortcoming that we have. Imagine if we're friends with such a person. All we have to do is look at this world, look at our life, look at our situation, say, Krishna, let me offer this to you. Whatever it is, whatever I have. Manasa deha geha yogichimor. My mind, my body, my words, my home, my possessions, everything. Krishna, today it is yours. And now my position is a caretaker. This is all your property, this is your body, this is your life, and I'm just here to just take care of it, to maintain it for your service. See what a difference it is? In the bodily concept of life, everyone is thinking, oh, my body, I need to have this cream and this aroma and this, everyone is very, very concerned about making their body attractive. But in spiritual life, we're thinking, let me maintain this body nicely, like a car, give it its oil change, give it its 50,000-mile checkup, change the tires, clean it, and just maintain it so I can get the maximum mileage out of it for my own purposes. So in the same way, we just want to use this body in Krishna's service. We don't want to renounce this body. And we don't want to abuse this body. That's the mode of ignorance. We just want to maintain it in the minimal way. That's a tremendous lesson from living in the ashram, actually. You learn how simply you can live. How little you actually need. Like Bali Maharaj was the king of the entire universe. And Lord Vamanadev, the little Brahmin boy, came to him. So as the generous king, Bali said to the little Brahmin, let me give you some charity. What would you like? I'm the emperor of the universe. I can give you a whole planet if you like. So the humble little Vamana says, if a person's senses are uncontrolled, the whole universe will not be enough for them. And so all I need is 3 paces of land. And Bali Maharaj said, you're a very, very naive fool. You're asking for so little. So that's all right. I just need what I require. So this is what we learn in the ashram. We just a little, as Prabhupada put it, a little place to sleep, a little prasad, and if there's service, let me gladly do it for Krishna. This is what we learn living in the ashram. And at the same time, it's not the situation that we are likely to stay in most of our lives. Prabhupada uses this word professional. Some of you know I like to say, okay, if you're going to be a teacher of Krishna consciousness, you are a religious professional. So Prabhupada here blasts that idea in terms of somebody who is teaching just for money. Yes, the spiritual master must not accept a disciple who is not qualified. He should not be professional and accept disciples for monetary gain. So just as devotee means we want to help others, so the spiritual master means, yes, they're only in it to help others as a way of serving Krishna. Here is somebody who is Krishna's devotee, but they've forgotten, let me help them re-engage. All right, any comments, questions? Narmani Prabhu.
Just a quick one on the last point you made, that you tell people that they're becoming religious professionals. It's important for them to have like an identity they can share and like that is like relatable. But of course, like we all know, like, the heart is never like missing. Like it's not a business thing. No one becomes a religious professional for the professionalism.
Well,
well, some people do, but not.
Yes, that word professional has taken on another meaning. I mean, profession means, to profess, just like a professor, a teacher, one who has a certain skill. But it's taken on the meaning to be associated with money. Because after all, much of what we learn at the University of Florida, anywhere else, is to earn money, right? I told you about my friend who studied psychology, and after 2 years of psychology, went to the professor and said, I'm not sure that what I'm learning here is true. And the professor said, where in the contract did it say that what we're going to teach you is true? We're going to teach you what you need to know to earn a living in this field as a professional. So he went and became a brahmachari. Because he actually wanted to understand what's going on in my life. All right? Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, thank you. Thank you very much. In the light of Krishna breaking the laws, we have to remember also that he simultaneously keeps them intact as well. So he's not really setting that example.
That's a fact. You remember that there's a section about this in Bhagavad Gita, in the 3rd chapter, where he says, Yad yad vicharati shrestas, whatever great people do, Colin. So therefore, do you remember what he says? I do my duties, because if I didn't, the whole world wouldn't do.
Example of, there was an example of when Srila Prabhupada went to South India, there was a reporter who challenged him that he's spreading the glories of this debauchee God who dances with other men's wives at the dead of night. And Prabhupada just turned to him and said, your wife also belongs to Krishna. and the background of the story, you mentioned, is that during the Brahma Vimoha Lila, when Brahma stole all the coward boys and calves, Krishna explained that there was the year where he married all these gopis.
Yes.
So they're actually his.
They were actually his wives, yeah. They all wanted to marry Krishna. So Krishna arranged they could all marry him in his expansions.
So he keeps them intact.
Yes, very good, very good.
We cannot imitate.
Just briefly, are we going to have breakfast out or in today? It'll be a little bit late. Outside a little late. Okay, you tell me when. Yeah, I just want to share this beautiful story when it was somewhere in Eastern Europe, I believe, where the church was very strong and they were trying to prove that ISKCON was a dangerous cult. And this was their argument. They worship a god who dances with other men's wives. Yeah. And so there was one of the nuns who was attacking the devotees. So they called our lawyer called the nun to the witness stand and said, so you've taken vow and yes. So are you considered a bride of Christ? Yes. So Christ has many brides, huh? The judge said, all right, case dismissed. All right, anything else? Let's move on. Please.
I just wanted to add also that not only all of these wonderful things that Krishna does, but inside of that as well, to make sure everyone benefits ultimately. Everyone, even those husbands.
Yes, all the husbands thought their wives were next to them because Krishna, all the gopis' husbands, thought that their wives were sleeping peacefully next to them. They weren't aware that they were out with Krishna. There's different acharyas say that Krishna expanded himself from these Maya forms of the gopis so that the husbands were not disturbed. Yes, the husbands advanced because of that. Everything Krishna does is auspicious for everybody, even when it hurts like hell. Okay, anything else? Oh, not finished. No? Okay, I want to just, did you catch this point about one should give personal service and all kinds of comforts to the spiritual master? So this is important to understand. What are the two things in the Bhagavad Gita that Krishna says one should bring to the spiritual master? Two things.
Relevant questions.
Yes. And?
Service.
Service, right. Service and relevant questions. So service may take the form in Vapu Seva, that you might tend to the personal comforts of the spiritual master. This is not so the spiritual master can enjoy it, it's so the spiritual master can maximize time in service to Krishna. That's all. Should be understood clearly. And also, it's not mentioned financial gifts to the spiritual master, right? That might be a form of service, okay, but it's not a fiduciary arrangement. Right? Oh, okay. In other words, it's not a financial arrangement. All right. Anything else? Yes, continue.
Back to the question of the asking for money. I think here it's specifically mentioning it because there are fake gurus out there that really just want to get money from you.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm thinking, for example, what I want to do with my life is to preach full time and to offer Krishna consciousness in different ways. But I wouldn't be able to be in this world without making money, right? So I'm gonna have to ask for money. So how does that translate?
Thank you for asking that question. So this is a very relevant question. The average religious professional in America is average, and that's all the way from the youth choir director or the youth director or choir director to the pastor, head pastor. The average professional religious person in America earns $50,000 a year. I hardly know anyone in ISKCON. There's one or two very specialized people with professional degrees who work full time for ISKCON and earn that much. So we have this joy and also this burden of being a new entity, only 50 years old, which is very young by many measures. And have we gotten to a point where we can provide what people need to give themselves lifelong to the mission? And the answer is not quite, not yet. But that's more or less required if we're going to have full-time people. Now, my generation of religious fanatics, we had a sense. And Prabhupada was 70 plus years old. We knew Prabhupada was not going to be with us long. Prabhupada was asking us very actively, spread the mission, spread the mission. So we gave everything. He gave up whatever we had, we gave it up. And just threw ourselves fully into it. And so then at the end of his manifest pastimes, Prabhupada was then saying, okay, that was 50% of my mission. The other 50% is Varnashram. Why? Because Varnashram is a sustainable way to live. So beyond the initial rush of enthusiasm and spiritual life, that you can maintain it throughout your life. You see. So to maintain, what do we need to maintain? Like you said, we have to have some means of sustenance. Prabhupada's hope was that we could do that on farms. Okay? So he was hoping that we could establish farms where many people could come and live peacefully. The problem is and I'm speaking as a novice farmer. Farming is hard work, as those living Gita Nagari will attest. It's hard work. You have to know what you're doing. And it's a very vulnerable profession in that you have, if you have a bad year of your crops, you may be without sustenance, it's survival. So in addition, the farming, and you tell me when to stop, varnashram farming in a climate like India is one thing. In a climate like Pennsylvania is another thing. We have a pretty decent climate here for farming, pretty decent, but we can do 4 seasons. In fact, Adisham, you're just saying you look very tired because what did you do all weekend?
I planted 140 pumpkins.
Wow. 140 pumpkins. 140 pumpkins. You mean plants? Oh, seeds. Okay. Well, still. Shivaram Maharaj was talking when they started their farm in Hungary. One of their easiest crops was pumpkins. And being inexperienced, they had nothing but pumpkins for the entire winter. Pumpkin this, pumpkin that, pumpkin stew, pumpkin soup, pumpkin chutney. What's that? No problem on Halloween. So Seminole pumpkins go very well here.
Baked and cooked, they're different.
Yeah. So the point is that we were not able to sustain ourselves on farms by and large. I'm just speaking about our experience in North America. And so we have to therefore get into some kind of situation where we can maintain ourselves. That is religious professional in terms of our ISKCON. If it ever came to a point where we were getting a lot of money for our service, that would be risky. You see, this is explained in chapter 2 of the first canto, Dharmasya Hyapavargasya. Religion, spiritual life should never be performed for money. But if in the course of your spiritual life you get money, that's okay. Just don't use it for sense gratification. So money it's part of the wallet. It's meant to be used for Krishna service. Money is chanchala, Lakshmi, right? Lakshmi is flickering. Sometimes she comes, sometimes she goes. And so one should aspire to just live a decent, sustainable life and use your many talents for spreading Krishna consciousness. If that's your desire, Krishna can easily, it's not very difficult. He's taking care of the ant, the grain of sugar, the elephant with his ton of hay. It's not very difficult for Krishna to maintain a couple of devotees if our purpose is wanting to serve him. So that takes trust. But that's one of the symptoms of surrender, right? Krishna is my maintainer. Krishna is my protector. Right? So putting our trust in Krishna, it really is amazing from me in my life. I don't want to tell you my whole biography here, but because my wife and I were kind of willing to live that way, it was just amazing things happened. Krishna made all sorts of unexpected arrangements for us. So I can say with some degree of confidence, not to be impractical, not to be irresponsible, just to be trusting. Krishna will arrange them.
Do we have time?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, maybe it's not that we don't trust that Krishna will take care of us, but we don't trust ourselves that will be available for Krishna to take care of us.
That we'll be giving enough of ourselves?
Yeah.
Or that we're qualified for Krishna to be, I'm not worthy. Krishna, I'm not worthy to be taken care of by you. Therefore, I'll take care of myself. You see? It's kind of, you understand what I'm saying? It's another brilliant mental construct by which we can avoid surrender. Krishna consciousness is so pure, and I'm so impure. Therefore, I don't deserve to be in Krishna consciousness. Therefore, let me enjoy this material. Oh, we're impure, and we're not qualified. Anyway, Krishna, here I am. Take me. I'm a virgin body. That's what you get today. Whatever we are. whatever we have, because whatever we have, even if we're big, big people, what is our significance compared to Krishna? Yeah, what is our significance? You know that, neutrons. You know what a neutron is? It's the center of an atom, and it's a nucleus, and it has all these electrons spinning around. So there's a huge gap between the neutron and the electrons. It's like the neutron's width is 4 points out of a trillion, 4 trillions. That's how much distance is between the neutron and the electron. Okay. A trillion times, or quarter trillion. Anyway, if you removed all that empty space between the neutrons and the electrons and consolidated all the neutrons together, all of humanity, all the people in the world, their total mass would be the size of a sugar cube. So that's how inconsequential we are in reality. These things are inflated by our ego. We're really insignificant, but we think we're very important. Actually, Gaura-Nitai is very important. And Gopal is very important because he takes care of Gaura-Nitai, right? All right. Shri Gaura-Nitai ki jai, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai.
Gopal Prabhu ki
Jai.